Thank you guys so much for coming today. Welcome to another BAF Twitter space. Today we're talking about Oracle networks with Max Melcher, who is a solution architect at Chainlink Labs. Thank you, Max, for joining us. This talk is co-organized with CMU Blockchain Group and is facilitated by Hoe, who is a student at the CMU Blockchain Club. My name is Noor, and I'm head of growth at the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation. Quick background about BAF. We are a nonprofit that starts university-accredited blockchain courses. We've been building projects and connecting our members to opportunities in the industry, and we are governed by the leaders of our affiliated blockchain clubs. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, and I will leave the floor to Hoe and Max. Yeah, excited for this.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Hey, Max, how's it going?
It's going well. Hoe, how are you?
Nice, I'm doing good. So maybe we would like to start with like a quick introduction from you about like Chainlink.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get started, I want to thank Cameron and Noor of the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, as well as the members of the Carnegie Mellon Blockchain Group for putting this together. It's really great to be talking to you guys, especially in light of Carnegie Mellon's role in producing great technology leaders. If you're not already familiar with Professor Randy Pausch, then I encourage you to look him up on Carnegie Mellon's website and definitely watch his 2007 lecture, Achieving Your Dreams. Really good. My name is Max Melcher. I'm from Houston, Texas. I graduated in 2019 with a computer science degree. I'm also a commercially rated pilot, but more importantly, I'm a solutions architect at Chainlink Labs. So before I go into detail about what Chainlink offers, I think it's important to explain why blockchains need oracles. And something people know is the oracle problem. One of the principles that makes blockchain secure is that the network of nodes validating the blockchain purposely limit their connection to the outside world. So the smart contracts on these networks have no access to external real-world data. This includes market data, events data, bank payments, you name it. The vast majority of contractual agreements, however, require external information. So Chainlink is a decentralized Oracle network that provides these smart contracts a tamper-proof and highly available connection to all of the world's highest quality data feeds. We are essentially the industry standard Oracle network. We've been working on bringing data on-chain securely for over 5 years. And to put it in perspective, Chainlink oracles secure over $60 billion across 11 blockchains. Last quarter, more than 250 projects integrated with Chainlink. And I also think it's important to note that Chainlink is blockchain agnostic. So Chainlink is not limited to a single blockchain network and can natively run and or operate with any smart contract platform. What we're, I guess, most known for is our data feeds. And this is when Chainlink node operators gather data from multiple data sources simultaneously, come to consensus, and deliver this on-chain. Many people know us from our price feeds that power DeFi, but this also includes sports data, weather data, business financials, elections. Really, the limiting reagent to the data we bring on chain is people's imagination and what's available. So maybe to put it in a more tangible example, if you wanted the data for the results of the Carnegie Mellon Tartans versus the Case Western Spartans basketball game, you could use a Chainlink data feed to pull the answer on chain from multiple sources, and it would be reported without bias or manipulation. What people don't know is we offer more than just data on chain. There's a lot of things that Oracle can provide to a blockchain. And while we started with data feeds, we also Chainlink VRF, which stands for Verifiable Randomness Function. The reason this is important is because blockchains are deterministic. And when I say that, what this really means is that every result produced by one node must be reproduced exactly the same on each other node. And this makes it inherently difficult to have an unpredictable outcome. What Chainlink VRF provides is cryptographically secure randomness onto the blockchain. And this is really used everywhere, like from gaming to NFTs to real world. Like a real world example I think of when I think of true randomness is picking a juror for a case, or maybe even selecting a validator for consensus. We've seen some projects actually, try to use native block variables for randomness. If you guys are familiar with Meebits, it's a popular NFT project. It was actually exploited because of on-chain randomness. The attacker was able to re-roll the CryptoPunk community mints until he got the token ID he wanted. On that breath, though, we've also seen projects use VRF in their NFTs to randomly and fairly distribute given NFTs. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection did their Mutant Ape drop with Chainlink VRF. They use VRF to generate a verifiably random number and applied a transformation to it to generate a random starting index. And they applied that to their theorem types. I think it's important to note just on that VRF is not simply a source of randomness, but a full end-to-end solution that takes into account all attack vectors. So we have the data feeds, the randomness, and then my favorite solution, honestly, is something called Chainlink Keepers. Chainlink Keepers is an automation solution. So most people don't realize that their smart contracts are inherently asleep, right? They cannot execute their own functions based on predefined conditions. They don't even know what time it is. So instead, they must be triggered to execute. And what Chainlink's Keeper network does is it allows projects to leverage that same decentralized Oracle network to automate the execution of their contracts. Some practical examples I think about when I think of this is like if you have a yield that you need to harvest every week, you can just set that up for the Chainlink Keepers network to run for you. If you need to pay your rent every month, just set it up with Keepers and forget about it. The benefit of this really is that this conditional logic that you write runs every block at no cost to you. The Keepers network runs this every block. It's only when some on-chain action is performed, you pay a small premium on the gas. So honestly, I'm in love with that. And there are probably a few more solutions I could go into, but I'll pause there and maybe see what's next.
No, yeah, for sure, Max. Thank you for the thorough overview of Chainlink's different products. I read that Chainlink came out with like the white paper for Chainlink 2.0. Maybe if you don't mind giving us like an overview of the future of Chainlink and like what it's progressing towards.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Chainlink 2.0 white paper came out earlier last year. It kind of expands on the role of decentralized Oracle networks. We call them DONs for short. And it lays out some key advancements in this network. So the focus really is on improving the reliability, which we're already known for, and the security. And this is mainly done through mechanisms like staking, scalability, minority reports. There's also security features like credential management, threshold signatures. But there's also completely new features like FSS, which is our fair sequencing service, TEF. And there's some really, really novel confidentiality advancements like Town Crier and Deco. And for the record, this is led by our incredible research team. Ari Jules is our chief scientist from Cornell. And then in more recent news, Christian Catalini and Dan Bonet have joined our team. Christian was the co-creator of Diem and founder of MIT Cryptoeconomics Lab. And Dan was head of applied cryptography group at Stanford, I believe. All the white papers, by the way, are on our website. I do have to warn you, the 2.0 white paper is a little over 130 pages, so it's a good amount of reading.
See, yeah, it's definitely an exciting look ahead for like Chainlink's future. Maybe we could turn to like a more personal slant of your role yourself. Like you mentioned that you were a solution architect at Chainlink, so maybe you could tell us about some of the projects you're working on and like on what capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a solutions architect, I work with projects integrating Chainlink solutions. Their technical support really from start to finish. So if they have questions on the integration, they need a new feed spun up, I'm really here to empower them with Chainlink solutions. Trying to think a couple cool projects we've worked on recently. There's a project called Chromatica, which is doing limit orders with keepers, which I think is pretty cool. So limit orders in traditional finance are pretty standard, a little bit harder to do on the blockchain, especially on a DEX, but they're using keepers to automate that for their users. I think it's super cool. I'm really into DeFi as well. So there's a perpetual protocol I'm working with. Got off the phone with them a little earlier, and they're using Chainlink price feeds for their index price. So I'm not sure how well-known perpetuals are, but it's essentially a derivative contract. You can think of it as a future that just keeps on going on and on. So there's no settlement. And in order to keep the perpetual price close to the market spot price for a given asset pair, they implement something called a funding rate. And you need a index price or a market price to be able to facilitate this funding rate and essentially keep your perpetuals price close to that of the market spot price for that asset pair. I'm trying to think also. I specifically, so every different FSAs here have different maybe focus areas. And one of the areas I'm focusing on is with a solution we call proof of reserve. It's a specific type of data feed. And there's a project that hasn't, it's live and there's going to be a big announcement soon. So I'm not sure I can say the name, but what they're doing is they're tokenizing gold, and it's a really novel use case because we can use that same decentralized Oracle network that's monitoring for price data to also monitor reserve balances, say in a gold vault. So what this really does is it checks to see, hey, how much gold do they actually have in the vault, and then write that on chain. And what this does for all of DeFi is it shows, hey, a third party can attest and say, hey, the reserves for this asset are X. Here's how much has been minted on chain. And I think in order for DeFi to scale, to trillions, this sort of transparency and visibility, which is already inherent to a lot of DeFi, is really going to be important. So I love the idea. I love the concept that within a minute of the gold bar entering and being scanned to the vault, it can be minted on chain securely. Yeah, those are a few of the cool projects I'm working on.
That sounds super interesting actually. So would you say you're like the link between Chainlink and the companies that come in from outside? They're trying to integrate their solution onto Chainlink.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have great documentation, and at the end of the day, if a user comes along and sets up something using our price feeds, keepers, VRF, they can totally do so just following our docs. But where they may have questions and need support or need something new built, that's really where I come in and my team provides value. I think it's the coolest role because you get to join a team essentially for a period of like 3 or 4 weeks, and you're basically a member of their team, and you're helping empower them with our solution. So I think I have the best job personally.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like your job's like really dynamic because you have to swap between a lot of teams, right? But like, would you say your job role is technical in any sense? Because like, I know you swapped into Web3 from like an analyst role at Citibank. So maybe you could also mention like why you did the swap.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story with Chainlink is pretty interesting. In college, I had a buddy send me the 44 smart contract use cases article, basically ways that Chainlink can enable smart contracts. And he kept asking me, have you read it? Have you read it? I finally read it and was fixated on the project after that. It was really one of the only projects I religiously. And I loved what I was doing at Citi, but like I kept looking over and thinking, this is the future. This is somewhere I want to dedicate my time and focus. So like, again, but this is one of the coolest roles in Web3 and one of the coolest companies. And like, I say that too, because, one day I'm working on gaming projects. The next day I'm working on NFTs. The next day it's DeFi. And I think there may be other roles that do that. But the really cool thing is that it's just not on one chain, right? Today it's Ethereum. Tomorrow it's Solana, Terra, Avalanche. And I don't know another position that gives you exposure to all of these ecosystems and all of these blockchains. I think if you have a technical background and you can communicate well, then you would make a great essay. So if you're interested, definitely apply.
Yeah, that sounds great, actually. Maybe we want to do a switch back to Chainlink and like some of the more technical details. So we had a question from one of our members in our club. He asked if he mentioned that Chainlink's price feeds can actually take many seconds to update. So he asked if there are any plans to make the feeds faster to compete with other Oracle providers like Switchbot or Pyth.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it ties into Chainlink's architecture, as well as the networks we operate on. So it's important to note that Chainlink doesn't compromise security or robustness of gathering data from across the market to write faster on chain. And when a price feed that we write on chain is updated, it means an aggregation round amongst the nodes has been kicked off because of one of 2 trigger parameters, right? So the first one is we call it deviation threshold. And this is really a percentage by which if any node sees the latest price on chain is different by the median of the data sources they're collecting, they trigger an aggregation round. So when you look at a price feed on chain and you know the deviation threshold is 0.1%, you can be relatively confident that the price is within 0.1%. And if not, an aggregation round is going to kick off to update that price on chain. Now, the other way that prices get updated on chain is through what we call a heartbeat. And this is just a simple time parameter. You can set this as 24 hours, 1 hour. We have Polygon heartbeats at 27 seconds. It just depends on the use case. And Chainlink has always been driven by project demand. So we don't just spin up price feeds because we have projects come and ask and say, hey, I need a ETH/USD price feed on Polygon. And I need it at this deviation. I need it at this heartbeat because these are my reasons. So I think along with that, it's also important to look at the blockchain as well. I see sometimes comparisons where Chainlink price feeds are compared on Ethereum versus something else on Solana. And it's important to note, like Ethereum has a 12-second block time. Solana has a 400 millisecond block time. So it's also important to look at the network that these feeds are being operated on. Maybe the last thing I'll say on Solana is I'm actually really excited because we are live on Solana DevNet. And we are working on integration with Solana. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see the real capability and speed of the Chainlink network on a faster blockchain when we go live on mainnet.
Yeah, for sure. I think all of us are looking forward to that as well. So I know that there are some grant programs that Chainlink sponsors. So would you like to speak more about them? Plus, like, are any of them more applicable to current college students?
Absolutely. We have a large number of grant programs. There are community grants, and these are for like projects seeking to empower like more Chainlink ecosystem teams who are building like key infrastructure and tooling. There's also integration grants for projects maybe working to help integrate the Chainlink node into new networks. We have a bug bounty program for people who find, maybe some bugs in core components. And I think that's also a good point to highlight that, the Chainlink node is open source. You can go to GitHub today and look at this. So that's another cool part of working here that, I really appreciate. We have a research program. I think that may be more applicable, especially to college students. I know we have a research grant for PhDs. So looking to pursue a PhD, definitely reach out about that. And we also have social impact grants, and these support nonprofits, emerging markets, people who are generally just committed to the betterment of humanity. Oh, also, sorry, I just remembered we also have a new startup grant for programs for startups. New when you're starting a new project, we have a startup grant as well. That's pretty exciting.
Nice. Maybe we want to take things back to a more like personal slant after this. What's the project or feature that you're most proud of with regards to your Chainlink?
Yeah. So my involvement day to day is really heavily focused on proof of reserve. And I'm very proud of like developments we've made. I think it's hard for the market to see it now as this extra layer of security. Why do we need this? But I think for the DeFi protocols that we've worked with for the last 2 to 3 years, it's really a risk to them that's solved by our solution. So I like to think if you have two identical assets, let's say you have two US dollar stablecoins and they're identical, right? But one of them has this feed that proves act one-to-one at all time. If you're a lending protocol, if you're Aave or Compound, which one do you want to accept as collateral on your platform? So proof of reserve is very near and dear to my heart. The other project that I've always just been obsessed with is Ether Risk, and they do parametric flight insurance with Chainlink. So I love aviation. I love the concept. People are always asking, when is blockchain going to be applicable to people today? There's this blockchain is a great technology. It's really cool. It's really novel. But outside of profile pictures, what does it really add? And I think parametric flight insurance is an example of how blockchain can actually be a real world tangible use case for people today. So you buy the flight insurance, you use Chainlink oracles to determine, did your flight take off on time? Did it get delayed? If it gets delayed, you get paid immediately. No middleman, no, on the phone for hours trying to get your payment. I think it's great because it's here today and it works. And that excites me.
Cool. Do you say it's called Ether Risk?
Ether Risk. Yep. I can also send over some links after this chat, probably, or post
Yeah,
them.
for sure. We'll get that up onwards. So what do you think is like the most exciting development you see in the Web3 industry?
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff happening every day. I feel like, I saw somewhere, maybe it was a tweet that said, this is the one industry you can work in where even working in it, you feel like you're perpetually behind because there's just new innovations coming out every day, it seems. I think for me, I like that Web3 is proving to be more egalitarian. And I feel like this is especially true at Chainlink. We have a true idea meritocracy. So if today's your first day and someone else has been here 5 years, everyone has a voice in the discussion and the best ideas are actioned on. And I think this goes all the way up, not just from Chainlink, but into the industry, right? I think that's something that's very cool. I like that the access to resources is large. So if you have a $20 Android in a developing country, you have just as much access to the tools and infrastructure as someone sitting in California today on a desktop. So I like that part of Web3. I like seeing that grow and seeing more use cases and more people around the world have access.
I see. You said that you mentioned that Chainlink was quite egalitarian. Do you think like your job like puts you in charge of a team, or is it like more of a horizontal like data like leadership structure at Chainlink?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Personally, it feels very horizontal. When I was at City, I remember that when you came in, there was a big kind of corporate look like an upside down tree in terms of who reported up to who. When I started Chainlink, we didn't have that, and so it was actually more of a question of who rolls up to who. It felt very much more like a soccer team. Um, and so I really like that aspect of it. I know some people, prefer the hierarchical structure. There definitely are, managers and so forth here, but I think you don't have the same limitation of voice that you might at other places. Truly, if you have a good idea or if you feel your voice needs to be heard on any particular topic or issue, I feel like you have access to express it here.
Yeah, I managed to talk to quite a few people at Chainlink who at ETH Denver, like CMU blockchain sent quite a few students there, and I think they mentioned like all the same things as you, like how like the structure of the team wasn't vertical, it was very horizontal, and I think like that's one really nice thing about Chainlink. Maybe we could move on to our final question. That's depending on the time we have. What's your advice for students trying to break into the industry? Like I noticed that there's a bunch of students here, and everyone's excited about Web3. So what piece of advice do you have?
Yeah, you guys are all taking the right first step, right? You're here listening to this. You're part of the blockchain club, so you guys are already getting involved, and I think that's like one of the first steps to doing it. I would say reading is huge. I highly recommend Mastering Ethereum. That's a very specific book, but Andre Antonopoulos wrote an amazing book. And for any EVM chain, even if you feel like you're not that technical, I know people who come from non-technical roles have read that book and have been able to contribute immediately on technical discussions. I cannot recommend that highly enough. Lastly, I'm going to promote the Chainlink blog as well, and the reason I'm doing that is because it does a great job not only promoting use cases for Chainlink, but it actually goes through the technical details on how they work. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of PR blogs, and I like blogs that actually go through and explain, here's how this works, here's how these parts move together. Um, my manager when I got here told me something really interesting. He said, go out and use the product or use these protocols that are using Chainlink. Lose some money. I think that's actually really good advice. You can read a lot. You go out there and buy your first NFT or buy a derivative. It really hits home when you do it. So play around with them. If you're interested in a particular project, definitely read the white paper. Reach out. I saw someone on our GitHub today. I opened an issue or request in the documentation, and someone commented, "Hey, I know Go. I would love to write something in the docs." And I think people underestimate how accessible companies are, especially in the Web3 space, and that a comment like that, may lead to a job. Um, but the other thing I'll mention is Chainlink has a hackathon coming up. I think it was announced. I believe it starts April 22nd, I want to say. I can definitely link it after this, but I've seen people get hired from the hackathon. I'm not even kidding. I've seen people get hired from the hackathon, and it's a great way to showcase your abilities, your interests. Even if you're not technical, I think we do a good job of pairing teams up together. So you can join our Discord. There's I think, teammate finder channel. Um, so I would recommend highly joining hackathons. There's also a good amount of money up for grabs. So yeah, that'd be my advice.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice. Thank you for all the advice. Maybe we can end off with our final question. Do you have any favorite podcasts or videos or YouTubers that you religiously listen to in regards to the Web3 space?
Yeah, he's gonna love that I said this about him, but definitely Patrick Collins. And I'll tell any story about Patrick Collins. I don't know if he's gonna get mad if I say this, but Patrick Collins works at Chainlink Developer Relations, and a while back, he's very. If you've seen his videos, he's very outgoing. He's very over the top, maybe a little bit. And if you ever talk to him in person, he's super chill. But he once, maybe it was last year, uploaded two videos of exactly the same topic, and one was his normal character, very excited. One was very mundane, very flat, because people have been commenting and telling him to rein it in a bit. The one where he was himself got like 20 times the number of views as the one he did just in like a normal mundane voice. So I love Patrick Collins. He is one of the most intelligent people I know, and he does a great job of abstracting hard technical concepts in a way I think more people can understand. I think we're extremely lucky to have him here on the team at Chainlink. So definitely, anytime he publishes a video, I think I have post notifications turned on for him, and I'm watching that.
Was the video talking about the on like free code camp, like something about Solidity, like smart contracts?
Yes, he has a boot camp, I think, from Free Code Camp, like as a beginner to intermediate Solidity boot camp. It's quite long, I think maybe 24 hours, but I would highly recommend that. I've heard from people who've done it that it's extremely easy to pick up, and he does a good job explaining. But also, he releases videos all the time. Chainlink also has an official, which I'll shamelessly plug here because I think there's a lot of great interviews that come out of that. And our developer relations team also publishes a lot of great tutorials on how to implement services using Chainlink.
I see. Well, thank you for the insightful half an hour we've had, Max. It was really great listening to you, and thank you for the advice you've given to us. I think it's been a really insightful talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for hosting. Definitely reach out, guys, if there's ever anything I can do. Happy to talk Chainlink or just Web3 in general. But really appreciate the time today.
For sure. Thank you, Nara.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Make sure to follow Beth on Twitter. And if you want to join Beth, all you have to do is fill out the form in our Twitter bio. And we would love to see you on our Beth Discord. Thank you guys. This was awesome. Bye.
Bye.